Woohoo! I'm back. Yeah, you know me. I come back in clumps. What can I say? I'm all cleaned up now. My housework and my bike ride are done for the day. Of course, my nose is itchy. So sorry. My allergies have been off the chart lately. I mean, they just go all summer. It's something you live with. Could be worse. I could be worse in so many ways. So, enough complaining. Okay, let's talk about Kansas and the National Review. Surely you know about the Kansas vote. Big, 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 big. The GQP thought they were going to come in after the Supreme Court ruling and trot all over the rights of women and the rest of us. They thought that the overturning of Roe versus Wade was going to be the start of their whole cascade of subsequent cases to strip people of civil rights. And with one single state vote in Kansas, they see that they have miscalculated entirely, that they did not perceive the will of the public even remotely closely to what the reality is, which is no surprise. There are plenty of intelligent Republicans. I know. There are. But how do I put this? There are intelligent Republicans, but I feel as a whole, their party, especially now, has an inability to perceive, to feel where the country is at. They do not accurately feel where people are at. They do not, they think that the country is with them on all kinds of things, and they don't understand how far off from the will of the people they are. And then, of course, then there's another percentage, especially in Congress right now, that just don't even care. I mean, they're either authoritarians themselves or want to be authoritarians imitating 45, or they are bought. There could be all kinds of reasons why these people vote the way they do, and even the folks in the Supreme Court, some of whom are almost certainly bought. Some people will sell themselves that way for money, and some people will pursue what they're pursuing for power, autocratic power, dictatorial power, because that's their personality. First of the day, cheers. Yeah, this is Teeling whiskey, by the way. It's an Irish whiskey. It's very, very good. It's one of my faves. Redbreast might be the best Irish whiskey I've ever had. It's aged in these casks for like 12 years before they sell it, or so they claim. But either way, it tastes amazing, and it's it's expensive. But you gotta parse it out. If you drink it at home, it's a lot less expensive than at a bar. So, cheers. So, so the Kansas vote has the GOP in a panic, and then you add Biden's victory along with the Democrats on this congressional bill where they got Manchin and even Kristen Sinema, as Linda G calls her, on board. Then the Republicans are starting to feel they're starting. It didn't take long. It only took a couple weeks. Sorry, I'm getting messages on my phone. It didn't. It didn't take but a couple of weeks for them to figure out how wrong they were about all kinds of things. Which again, I feel they have like there's like right wing. There's a lot of right wing blindness. I don't know why it seems like there's way more of that on their side than on our side, but it is so, at least at this point in time. So anyway, yeah, that's a big victory for Biden, and it follows along with the predictions that many of the psychics have made that not only is Biden going to be a tremendously successful president in the end, but we're going to get Congress this fall. We're going to get more seats in the Senate. We're going to retain the House even if we lose a couple of Democratic seats, and then we're going to start shoveling legislation that is long overdue that has to do with our rights and encoding them into law anything that's ambiguous is going to get encoded into law if the filibuster has to be set aside or eliminated entirely. And even the Democrats' proposal of their new proposal about the Supreme Court, where like justices phase out by age, and that any president has the absolute right to nominate 2 justices per term in their first and third years, and then whoever the elder justices are must essentially retire, forced retirement. That would take Thomas right out of the equation, without even having to go after him for his traitorous wife and for his own ridiculous, incomprehensible refusal to not recuse himself from the case involving her emails. I mean, he's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. He's a corrupt piece of shit, and he's an autocrat, and so therefore he thinks that he's above the rules, much like 45. They're all being revealed. It's like 45. I would never want to go through it again, but his reign enabled them all and revealed them all at the same time, and just one by one they're all being shown for exactly what they are, just as the psychics predicted. So that's the upside of all of the troubles we're going through, and there's going to be more Supreme Court nonsense before they're through, but we're going to get them in the end, because there will be, I think, term limits. There will be new justices. Biden won't say now that he'll stack the court, but he still might. We'll see. So there's all that. But let me get to the point about the National Review. But first, so if you're not familiar, and why would you be, the National Review is a highly conservative publication. I believe it was started by William F. Buckley Jr., who was a piece of work. Very intelligent man, but with some very obvious blind spots about his own belief systems. And he's like sort of looked upon as a conservative Jesus of the, I guess maybe more the 60s. I don't know when National Review started, but especially when conservatism was less popular, like in the 60s and the 70s, when the country was more definitely sort of leaned left on the whole until you get to Reagan. And so he was seen as someone who was holding up for conservative values during a time when they were not popular. And now the National Review is not deeply read. It exists. I think they still print a magazine, but I see it as an online publication mainly now. So if you must, it's nationalreview.com. I read it so you don't have to. And why do I read it? I read it to gauge the weather, to see what the conservatives are thinking. And in the run-up to the last election in 2020, I actually had a membership for about a year under my own name, no pseudonym, and I would go in there and just blast everybody. I was on blast like 24/7, calling any of them who supported Trump essentially traitors, which they didn't like very much. And I may have mentioned before that I think either prior to that or around the same time I got banned from Breitbart.com, which is an even further right site, for some of my inflammatory comments about Breitbart and its participants and its readers. So that is my role. I'm an agitator sometimes for what's right. Well, as I perceive it. We all have our biases, but I can tell democracy from fascism, and that's not a hard one. If you're a thinking, feeling, sentient human being, which not everybody is, obviously, because we've seen it. So, National Review, very conservative publication, and now I'm not a member because I don't want to give them my $70 right now a year just so I can go on and blast them. But I'm still thinking about it. If I get a little extra cash, I might. But I just read their stuff now and read the articles. And then I get cut off. Like at a certain point, you can get so many free articles per month, but it seems to reset randomly. And the point that I want to make now is that the GOPers over there are shitting bricks. They're shitting bricks about the election. That website, ever since Roe versus Wade was overturned, has been like raising the flag for restricting even more rights, and what a victory it was for the unborn, and blah blah blah. Like, they've been running that. They've been flapping their mouths hard on it. And then when Kansas hit, it's like instant regret. And now they're in damage control mode. So, of course, none of the writers will admit that they misread the temperature of the country entirely. Naturally, they never correct themselves. But the readers are calling them out on it. And the readers, too, are the people who read it and comment on the articles on the website, who are obviously subscribers. It's always the same bunch. They don't have a huge readership. It's not maybe what it once was in Buckley's day. They know they've gone from being like Joe Biden is a lame duck president to we might lose Congress, and they are going to lose Congress, but they're figuring it out at long last. And now they see that the abortion issue, they misperceived the depths to which people are upset about it and what a game changer it is. And it's going to be a game changer across the board. And we are going to see everything we hope for, or most of what we hope for, come true in November. And we are going to see a huge blue wave that carries into next year and leads to the creation of all kinds of reform legislation aimed at protecting all kinds of rights, not just abortion rights. For example, a coworker of mine, we're not like super close, but we're close enough. We were when the Roe versus Wade verdict came out. She told me, because she had a child recently, she told me that she had once had an ectopic pregnancy that had to be aborted. And of course, we're in New York State here. Buffalo, New York is where I'm at, and it was not it wasn't a problem for her to get one, but she was mad as hell about it, that the Republicans thought that they could take away that right to safety for women, that right to make decisions with your doctor about your own health when a pregnancy isn't viable. And I had a tenant here at my apartment, at my house, in the other apartment, when she was pregnant with her second child. Her child had sadly died a few months prior to its due date, and she was in hard shape, because she really held out a long time before they did whatever they had to do to secure her safety. It was dangerous for her to be carrying this child who they didn't know whether it was even really gonna have a chance of living at like 7 or 8 months. And she was big and she was heavy and she didn't feel good. And God bless that woman. She's a sweet, sweet woman, young woman. And she made it through okay, but I'm sure it was hell. Hell for her, hell on earth. And can you imagine if she had to contend with like some red state law where like she had to worry about being prosecuted, or her doctor had to worry about being prosecuted for not having the right to do what is in the best interest of her safety and health, in addition to the unborn potential child. So, yeah. And what kills me about the National Review is they have already... there's more. They, all the CPAC stuff that came out this weekend, like all the cray-cray at that Republican convention. Now all the people on the National Review, or the majority, are saying, oh, that doesn't represent us. That doesn't represent us. But they also realize that is the public face of the conservative movement right now. And they realize that they look like a bunch of lunatics, because they are. But what is so funny is they've already all shifted to DeSantis. So, like, they haven't learned anything. Like, they went from one wannabe autocrat to another. They just think that they still misread. What is my point? They still are misreading the public. DeSantis, I don't even know if he's going to win his state in the fall. And if he loses, then he cannot be president because it's proof in the pudding that he's not a viable national candidate if he can't even win conservative Florida. So, but they have already en masse shifted to DeSantis, at least on the National Review website, and they badmouth Trump like nobody's business now. That was my other point. They don't love Trump. They hate Trump, and they now call him as corrupt as we have all been calling him for 6 years. But they don't see their own hypocrisy. They don't see that they are the enablers who made him possible. And now all they're doing is just shifting their allegiance to DeSantis as if that's any better than Trump, which is not. So it's incredible. They don't see shit. They don't perceive anything accurately. The irony is some of them know history pretty well, and some of them know the law pretty well. But for those of them who know both, the way they contort their understanding of history and the law to support their point of view, especially when it's something autocratic or authoritarian, is incredible. The debates they have about minutiae of details of the Constitution would make your head spin. They come up with the same contorted, pained conclusions that the Supreme Court comes up with. You know, this whole originalist thing that the Supreme Court is currently pursuing, but where they say if it's not in the Constitution, it's not a right. But of course, they're only originalists when it serves their purposes, and then when it doesn't serve their ideology, they're not. Which just makes them activists, judicial activists, which is what they accused the left of being for all those years when it was a left-leaning Supreme Court. So all they're doing is the exact same thing they accused liberals of doing, but even worse, taking away even more rights. And they stepped in the shit. And so, again, as the psychics have predicted, their inability to see the picture clearly will mean they're going to get their asses handed to them in November. So that is my message. So they know it too, or they finally know it. They seem to be getting an inkling. They're trying to rally behind DeSantis over there at National Review, but it's not going to play out the way they think because they still misread where the country is at. Nobody wants Trump Part 2. No way. Not a chance. So they can bust on Trump all they like over there now and pretend that they never supported him. Or some say they did support him, but they don't support him now because January 6th revealed him as if they didn't know before. But January 6th commission was so effective, so devastatingly effective, because they used almost all Republican witnesses that they undermined any ground that anyone reasonable could have to continue supporting 45. Now, of course, there are still unreasonable people over there who are saying that 45 is Jesus, but they are much fewer than they were even 6 months ago. And I'm glad to see it. And I'm glad to see that they don't see the picture correctly or clearly, because if they nominate DeSantis, which I kind of doubt he's going to get that nomination, it will be another failure. And I expect whoever they nominate to fail. Pence is damaged goods. Nikki Haley was a Trump supporter. She's damaged goods. Romney couldn't possibly win. Pompeo is damaged goods because of 45. They don't have anyone popular and sane at the moment. And they're going to lose in the fall, and they're going to lose in 2024 in the presidential election too. Mark my words. So that's the report. Be well, be of good cheer, because the corner, as I referenced in a previous video, we have turned the corner. There's no doubt. It's as the psychics predicted. It took so much longer than we hoped to start to see some progress towards justice. It took far much longer than it should have. Yet all of the drudgery revealed all the rot, even down to the Secret Service and Homeland Security deleting texts. I mean, that's all. They're all going to get they're all going to get rooted out. They're all going to lose their jobs because you can't have that kind of corruption. and getting that out of the government is critical for the democracy to function properly. So I guess we got to see all of it pass by, all the sludge pass by our door before we get to see the clean water, or whatever the analogy is. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. Take care, be well. See you soon, I hope. Bye.